Welcome nail lovers and story lovers alike. Today I will be reading some awkward date stories while doing my Valentine's Day nails. In general, I'd say Valentine's Day has been pretty good to me. I had my first kiss on Valentine's Day in high school. I went to my first party on the Valentine's Day after that. So, I have some good memories on the day. But those aren't the stories we're here to talk about. I'm here to talk about the awkward ones, the embarrassing ones, and the maybe even a little bit traumatizing ones. Now, all these stories won't necessarily be about or on Valentine's Day, but they will be romance themed. So, I'll just get right into it. So, I'm 17, I meet this guy, out and about, doing 17-year-old things. We talk for a bit, and eventually we agree to go to his house to play Minecraft on his PlayStation, so things are gonna get pretty steamy. So I go to his house, and when he opens the door, I immediately realize it feels like a cavern in there. All the windows are covered, it's super dark, and it just stinks. So on the walk from the door to his game room where his PlayStation was, I was scanning everywhere, and there was just so much dirt. All the baseboards were lined with dust bunnies. I swear it looked like no one has ever cleaned the house. So, to make a long story short, I end up vacuuming his house, and it was a weird kind of satisfying, because it felt really good to, suck up all those dust bunnies. But the point is, I shouldn't have had to vacuum someone else's house. So, after I'm done cleaning, we go back and we build our castle in Minecraft, and it's fun, whatever. We chat a bit, and he tells me that he's 19. So at first I'm a little taken aback. I'm like, well, okay, I thought you were the same age as me, but that's okay. He seems relatively normal. So the next day, my mom's like, okay, well, if you're gonna hang out with this person again, I need to meet him. So we arranged to go to this little fish and chip place, and everything's fine until the waitress comes. Now keep in mind that this is highly condensed, so we had been talking for about 2 or 3 months at this point. So the waitress comes and he orders a drink, an alcoholic drink, which is fine. I'm in Canada, so the age of majority is 19, so I don't bat an eye. And so he gives her his ID and she takes it, and she makes some comment about how 1994 is a good year. So my mom and I immediately look at each other, and I know that we have both just simultaneously made the same conclusion. That this man is not 19. He is 23. And I have just barely had my 17th birthday. Needless to say, I did not see him anymore. Luckily, the extent of our relationship was 99% Minecraft, so things could have gone a lot worse. But that doesn't change how uncomfortable I felt, and I'm just glad I dodged that bullet. Now we'll move on to something a little more lighthearted, but will still probably make you sick to your stomach. Now, most of these stories are from high school, because I feel like that is just the peak of awkward romance. So one year on my birthday, one of my friends offered to buy me lunch from the cafeteria and get me the gourmet option that was made by the cafeteria program, or the culinary part of our school. So she comes back and she gives me what they had, and it was calamari, or squid. Now, I had never tried calamari before. As soon as I put it in my mouth, I was overwhelmed with the thought that there is an octopus in my mouth right now. Despite everything in my body telling me to spit it out, I managed to get it down. But it did leave me feeling rather queasy. A few minutes after that, one of my classmates approached us and said that he had a gift for me for my birthday. So there I am. I'm standing with probably about 5 or 6 of my friends, and he hands me this gift, and I'll pop in a picture of it. It is this beautiful fan that he said that he hand painted for me. I will never get rid of this fan. So I look at it, and it's already so awkward to open gifts in front of people, I feel like. So, I unravel or unfold the fan, and I'm like, oh my god, thank you, it's so pretty. And then he proceeds to ask me a question. And he's like, can I have a kiss? And I just freeze. I'm like, standing in a group of people. He wants me to kiss him in front of everyone. So I start feeling really nervous, and my anxiety mixed with the calamari I just ate did not mix well in my stomach. So I'm just there like feeling really flustered, and I have this overwhelming urge to just throw up. So all I can say is just no. I kind of spit it out, and then I just run outside. And you can guess what happens next. I felt so bad about how I left him, because we actually had class together later that day, and he came up to me and told me that he was pranking me, which I knew wasn't true when later, probably a week or two later, he asked me out, and when I said no, he said it was a prank again. So, you know. I know he was just embarrassed, so I didn't say anything. Now, this next one is probably the worst first date I have ever gone on. So, I meet this guy at a bookstore. I know, so romantic comedy, right? And I ask him out, and we decide to go to the movies. He says he'll pick the movie, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'm indecisive anyway. So we get there, and I was planning to pay for myself anyway, so I had a couple movie passes, like prepaid ones. So I took one out, and he's like, oh, cool, you have passes. Thanks. And I'm like, yeah, totally. It's for you too. And I was too awkward to say anything about it, so I just gave him one. So it turns out the movie he ended up picking was Moana, which is fine. I love me an animated movie. So we go in, take our seats, and we kind of are talking, and, I'm not really feeling it so far, but, I'll give him a shot. So once the lights go dim and the movie's about to start playing, he leans over and says, "This is my 5th time seeing this movie." And I'm like, oh wow, that's cool. Like, what am I supposed to say to that? I don't know. So everything's going rather normally until the songs start playing. He starts singing every word perfectly. And he is singing loud. It's a Tuesday, and if your city's anything like mine, that is cheap night, so there are people here. He is just giving it all he's got. And honestly, I admire his confidence, but it was just unexpected. And he does this for every single song. So the movie ends, and as soon as it's over, he's like, what did you think? How did you like it? He's like a kid in a candy store, like asking me a million questions. And honestly, I couldn't tell you a single thing that happened in that movie because I was just so distracted and thinking about the singing the whole time. So I'm like, yeah, the movie was good. And he's like, no, about my singing. To put it simply, he's no Moana. And if he was Moana, he'd be Moana with, like, strep throat. And I was like, well, oh yeah, that was so fun. Like, it's so impressive that you know all the words. So I skirted right around that question. And now it's time for the walk home, because apparently I can never find someone that drives. So he walks me home, and on the way home, he shows me his phone case. And his phone case is a Frozen phone case, with like Anna and Elsa on it, which, to be honest, Frozen is like one of my favorite movies. So I was like, you know what? That's actually cool. So he takes this as a sign that he should start singing Frozen songs now. So the whole walk home, instead of chatting and getting to know each other, he just sings the whole time, all the Frozen songs, while I walk in silence beside him. We never saw each other again. I feel like it's easy to get through a lot of bad dates, but dates where there are no conversation are the hardest dates. Maybe he was a really cool guy, but I'll never know, because he could only speak in Disney lyrics. So the last personal story I have is the story of a Halloween party. So I go to this party with my best friend, and it is her work Halloween party. So it is full of her coworkers. So there's one guy there that actually isn't even her coworker anymore, but he decided to show up anyway. And he has been trying his hardest to look impressive all evening. He is this buff, tall guy who looks like he skips leg day. You know the type. So he's there trying to woo my friend and I. So I grab a drink, and I don't have a bottle opener anywhere, so I'm kind of struggling or looking for something to get it off. So he comes up and he's like, oh, don't worry, I got that for you. I guess he was just trying to show how strong he was. So I give him the bottle, and he grips it with all of his might and just twists as hard as he can. And in my mind, I'm like, does he know that's not a twist off? So I give him a minute, and he just keeps going, twisting, until he pulls his hand away, and it's just covered in blood. The whole cap just like cut a huge circle ring around the palm of his hand. I was trying not to laugh, and he thought, I guess, that I didn't see, because he played it off really cool, as if there was nothing there. So I ended up just finding a bottle opener and opening it within a second. So I get on with my night, and I'm trying to avoid him a little bit, but he finds me again and does something that I can only assume to be some sort of retribution, a reclamation of his manliness, if you will, during the bottle cap incident. So mid-conversation, he decides to pick me up, just hands under the shoulders like a baby with a dirty diaper. So I'm like hanging there, very uncomfortable, and he switches to kind of like a cradling carry, and he brings me over to the couch and he sits me on his lap. So at this point, pretty upbeat, party music was playing through the speakers, and where he sat was right next to the aux cord where the music was coming from. So he unplugs the current phone and plugs his own phone in. And there I am, really uncomfortable that I'm sitting on his lap, so I try to shift over, but he's like, no, just wait a sec, I just want to show you something. So before he starts playing any song, he's like, I'm a musician, I can sing. I don't know what it is with guys singing to me, but I wish it would stop. So anyways, he's like, yeah, I'm a musician, so don't worry, I'll show you what I can do. So he goes to look for a song, and remember, this is supposed to be, his best work, a song that will impress the masses. And this man chooses several songs from the soundtrack of High School Musical. After that, some Ariana Grande. After that, Justin Bieber. At this point, he's fully into it emotionally, so he switches on some more slow songs. Throughout all this, everyone's complaining about the music, but he doesn't care. He just keeps talking about how he wishes he had his guitar with him. And honestly, I did too. That way, that's what would be on his lap and not me. The last song he plays is called For You I Will by Teddy Geiger. And I remember because he took my phone just so he could add that song to my library. Kind of as a, hey, remember me token. To this day, I still have that song in my phone's library. But I'm almost certain that I don't remember the events the way that he thought they came across. From my perspective, I was literally just treated like a baby. He tried to open things for me, he picked me up like a toddler, and sang to me until I pretty much wanted to fall asleep. If he was training for fatherhood, 10 out of 10. And I thought I'd just tack on one more little anecdote, because I'm sure almost everyone has had a date experience like this. But there was once I went to Starbucks for a coffee date, and the guy I went with showed zero remorse in taking peeks at the ladies. He looked down for longer than he looked at my eyes. He was not sneaky about it at all. The only time I remember him not looking constantly was when he was trying to show off his motorcycle helmet, which had this really obnoxious tiger on the side and was covered in this glittery white. I felt like it was so tacky, and all I could think of while looking at it was, I wish you would put that on so I could knock some respect into that head of yours. Hopefully one of those brought a smile to your face at least. If you have any awkward or funny date stories, comment them below. I love to read stories like that. Also, hopefully this set wasn't too all over the place. I feel like I experimented with so many different things that didn't turn out. But I think I ended up with something different than I usually do. I never wear black and I never wear pink, so it feels kind of weird to have these on, but I knew I wanted to do something that incorporated Anti-Valentine's Day into it, so this is what I came up with. If you want to see how I applied these short full cover tips, check out my last video where I show you my hack that makes applying short nails so much easier. Make sure you subscribe because in the next couple weeks I will be uploading a video where I compare 6 brands of full cover tips to see which ones are the best.